Good evening, or I should say morning. We're in the middle of morning here. Folks, you've seen my Horrorama 2017 and 2018 and the 2019 ones to come, but we have to do my Comic Con, Toronto Comic Con 2019. I am your host, Greg Gilbert of Python's Paradise, co producer of 13 Fanboy and the upcoming Victim No More. Folks, I am going to share with you Comic Con, and personally, I like Horrorama better than Comic Con because it's a smaller con and you get more time with the guest. But I'll say one thing: Comic Con, the cosplay is phenomenal. I took a lot of pictures, and I'm going to tell you, these people are dedicated. Their work is flawless, and I gotta tell you, I was impressed with the amount of cosplay. I don't see that much cosplay at Horrorama, but I saw a ton of it at Comic Con in Toronto. Now, I always like to visit Lisa Langlois, who I assisted at Horrorama 2017, and she, of course, was Patsy in Class of 1984. But she was not in Toronto when I got there. She was off in Los Angeles, and so I almost didn't want to go because of that, because Lisa was kind of my Toronto guide, but she also said this is a good thing because it would give me a chance to see how much I learned, and she taught me well. I left the airport. I did the subways. I did the streetcars, and I remember she called me at some point during that weekend. I was just there for the weekend for this con, and I figured why stay a week if she's not gonna be around. So, and I anyway, she gave me a call and asked me how I made out, and I said, "Well, I got here." And I had a blast. Even saw a movie there, Greta, with Chloe Grace Moretz, which didn't play here in Fredericton. So I went and saw that there. Loved the theater experience. But we're here to talk about Toronto Comic Con, and I'm gonna tell you, I had fun at it. I had fun at it, and I'm going to share my haul, and I'll start with my signatures and stuff. But first, I've mentioned before, Horrorama is founded by Chris Alexander, formerly of Fangoria, and Louis Cerez of Suspect Video. And Suspect Video had a vendor set up at Comic Con, and I gave them some business. I bought this little item from them, Night School. It's a slasher film, and it was nice to sit there and talk with Louis and reminisce about Horrorama, and try to get him to spill the beans on Horrorama 2019, but he wouldn't do it. Couldn't pressure him enough. But I did buy Night School from him and the folks of Suspect Video. I'll start you off on the photos I got. Now, the lines were quite long for the most part. Ron Perlman was a big star there, probably their biggest attraction. It took me 19 minutes to get to him. And of course, we all know him from Hellboy. And I finally got to him. Got him to sign that. He's not a big fan. I don't think he's a big fan of the remake. And but I got this signed. I got one for my brother Andrew, aka my manager, and my friend Colin. So there's Ron Perlman. He had a long lineup. And there were no Fantastic Beasts there, so I didn't know where to find them. But we did find Dan Fogler. And he looks a lot younger than in person, I'll tell you that. Had long hair and a very young face. And there's his signature on there. There you go. Yeah, he was a great guy to meet. John Delancey. Star Trek continues. My brother Andrew really wanted an autograph of him, so I got him one. And my brother was getting married that weekend, so I tried to arrange it so he could call my brother on his wedding day, but this handlers wouldn't allow it. But I got him an autograph, and John was a pretty nice guy. Now, one of the big reasons I prefer Horrorama to Comic Con is because I find you get more intimate time with the guests, and it's been like that for Horrorama all 3 years I went. Nobody at Horrorama or nobody at Comic Con was rude, but there were a few people. There was only a couple of them that came off like I shouldn't say the words genuinely wanted to be there, but they were a lot more outgoing, and I'm going to get to them in just a minute. But before I do, I got to mention this because I should have mentioned them when I talked about Ron Perlman, but he was there. Tommy Flanagan, Sons of Arnica, and he was one of these guys. He was only allowing one autograph per person, and he was the only one doing that. And that's the first time I encountered that. But so I had to backtrack on getting a photo signed, and I got him to sign this. That is The Game. Michael Douglas. He was, of course, the cab driver that leaps from the vehicle while Michael Douglas ends up in a dire state. But going back to my other story, there were two people there that were really, really, really outgoing. Like, this wasn't just them getting autograph money. They were enjoying this. And one of them is John Rhys-Davies, who most people know from Lord of the Rings. I loved him best in Raiders of the Lost Ark. And when I get up there, one of the things I noticed he did is he would ask every fan what they did, and he'd have a little conversation with them. And when I got up to get my picture taken with him, he put his arm around me and he went like this into my side, trying to get me to laugh, and it worked. If you get a chance to meet John Rhys-Davies at a con, do it. He's well worth it. And I got him to sign this. Raiders of the Lost Ark. Him trying to deal with that camel. He was a lot of fun. And I also... Raiders of the Lost Ark. Now, he was signing more than one thing. And I got him to sign my Raiders of the Lost Ark Blu-ray. I like Raiders of the Lost Ark best of the Indiana Jones franchise. I saw that at the drive-in. I saw it several times on the big screen. I think I've seen it 4 or 5 times, and got him to sign that. The other guy that was really outgoing was Corbin Burson. I was Lisa Langlois' assistant at Horrorama 2017, but generally at these cons they have people that assist the celebrities and help them with whatever they need. Well, Corbin Burson was having a blast with his handler, or his assistant. He was up there doing selfie pictures with that person, saying, "I'm a pro, I'm getting very good at this," and just had his handler laughing. And Corbin was a great guy, and he signed this for me from Major League. It says, "To Greg, I'll be speaking with you." Yeah, he said he'd do my podcast. I haven't had him on yet, but John Rhys-Davies and Corbin Burson are two people I highly recommend. If you see them at a con, go meet them. Now, my parents are both terminally ill, and getting them to laugh is always a plus. And my dad laughed at this photo. I met Jay White, aka Steve Urkel. It says, "To Greg, My man, J.L. White. Yeah, he had a lot of young, especially kids, come up to meet him. And he was very pleasant. He wasn't dressed like Urkel, though. And then the last autograph I got was this stunning lady. This was the only female they had there, and she's stunning. Emma Caulfield from Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Look at that. That's a beautiful photo. It says, to Greg, bunnies, bunnies, it must be bunnies. Emma Caulfield. Yep. Yeah, nobody was rude, but I just found that John Rhys-Davies and Corbin Burson were the two standouts in terms of being really engaging, and they really were. Now, I had about 6 bags of stuff from this. In fact, I was wondering how I was going to get that all stuffed into a suitcase and get home by plane, and I managed to do it. But I remember leaving Comic Con, and there was this cab driver parked, and he was looking at me like, you could tell what he was thinking. You need a lift, and I was like, yeah, kind of do. I was trying to get to the station so I could take the subway, but I just wasn't gonna make it. But I got a lot of collectibles, and Lego has come a long way. When I was young, my brothers and I had just blocks, maybe a little roof piece, maybe a long piece, a big thing to build on. But Lego when I was young was kind of boring compared to today. Kids today got better Legos, and Lego is all over the place at Comic Con. And I saw some Legos there that I found quite fascinating. I grew up, I was born in 1972, so I grew up with a wide variety of cartoons. And one of my favorites getting into my younger teens was Masters of the Universe, I mean, the movie sucked, but still. They had so many interesting characters, and I grabbed, they had Legos of Masters of the Universe. There was 16 figures, 8 good guys, 8 bad guys. And one guy bought one set, and I bought the last set. So he only had 2 sets there. But I'll show you the ones I got. And put them back in the bag here. But I'll show the good guys here first. There's He-Man with his axe. Has an axe, a sword, and a shield. There's Teela, little cobra and a staff and a shield. And her father, Duncan, man-at-arms. Here he is, get that mace. And of course the sorceress. And of course the winged warrior Stratos. No weapon for him, I guess. And we have Zodak. Got a little gun with him. Pick him up better like this. Get a better look at his head. And of course, Ram Man. Got a little axe with him. Then the last one for the good guys was Manny Faces. Now I like the bigger figure of Manny Faces because he had a human face, robot face, and monster face, and you could just turn the thing on the top of his head and he can be whatever face you wanted. But those were the good guys. The bad guys I always found more interesting because more creative looking. Skeletor, of course, with his goat staff and sword. Beastman, with his whip. One of my personal favorites, because my favorite color is green, the ocean warrior merman with a sword that looks like corn on the cob. We have Evil Lynn, kind of a counter to Tila. This guy I had a lot of fun with growing up when I had the figures. Trapjaw. Trapjaw always had that robot arm where he could put a gun, a claw, or a hook in there. Of course, he had that jaw that clomped down on anything. Got Triclops, his sword. Triclops, of course, had the head that had the 3 eyes on it. And a counter to He-Man, Faker, the robot Skeletor made. And then the last one, Clawful, the big lobster claw hands. I got those at Comic Con, and I don't collect Legos, but those I thought were an interesting thing to get. Also, growing up, big wrestling fan, not so much now, but loved wrestling in the 70s, the 80s, and the 90s. And I collect a lot of those LGN figures, those rubber ones, because you could do anything with them, throw them down a flight of stairs. Went to the flea market and I got Andre the Giant, Bruno Sammartino, and my first of 3 Corporal Kirchners. After that, I had a guy from the flea market met with me, and he had a box of LGNs, about 30 of them. And I widened my collection greatly. But when I went to Comic Con, one of the big things that was hard to put in my luggage was the LGNs, and I bought a dozen of them. And they were in really good shape. So I'll show you the LGN figures I got. One of my personal favorites, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. We all remember WrestleMania 3. Yeah, the dragon. I grabbed that. And Terry Funk. Again, one of the greats. Nobody was more hardcore than Terry. I have 3 Terry Funks. And one of them's got his hand partly chewed off. One's got his face partly chewed off. This one at Comic Con, the best shape. No branding iron, no hats. Hard to get them with the items with them. King Kong Bundy. Look at that smile. We all remember his WrestleMania 2 battle with Hulk Hogan inside the steel cage. He fought The Undertaker at WrestleMania 12, beat SD Special Delivery Jones in 9 seconds at WrestleMania 1, and fought Hillbilly Jim and had some midgets in the match in WrestleMania 3. Made some history. And more, of course, where there's King Kong Bundy, you got Big John Studd. Now, I got an Andre the Giant LGN. And, of course, Andre the Giant body slammed Studd in that $500,000 slam match. And look at that. WrestleMania 2 in the Battle Royal. Tito Santana, Arriba, former Intercontinental Champion, 2-time. Brutus Beefcake, very good shape. Would become the barber. I got his partner Greg the Hammer Valentine too. I got from the flea market. Oh, Bat Jack. I always liked him, but he was one of the enhancement talents. No hat with him, unfortunately, but Again, one of my favorites. Jake the Snake Roberts. No snake, unfortunately. Damien wasn't with him, but I had to grab him. George the Animal Steel. Always liked George. Had a big feud with Randy Savage at WrestleMania 2 in the WrestleMania 4 Battle Royal, where he stayed in the outside, pulled Jim Neidhart over the top rope. Yeah. By the way, my cat likes this figure, rubs up against it. He hates Brutus Beefcake, though. Likes George. One of my all-time favorites, Roddy Piper. I got one from the flea market. His face was colored all over with pink marker by some kid. So I got this one, which is a little more cleaned up and no kilt, unfortunately. I have interviewed his son Colt on my show, and his daughter Ariel's been a guest a couple of times. Talked about, tributed their dad, Roddy Piper. Of course, Piper's partner in crime at WrestleMania, Paul, Mr. Wonderful Orndorff, really had a big, massive feud with Hulk Hogan. I can't understand why this guy was not at WrestleMania 3. And then last but not least, ooh yeah, the Macho Man. I have a version of him from the flea market, but a lot of paint loss, and this one here looks like he's in great shape. Him and that big flying elbow. So that was my tally, and for wrestlers. Now, I got some figurines I'm going to show you as well. Didn't get any t-shirts. I wanted to get one of the original Halloween, but they were all out of them. But I did get this, a Michael Myers figure. There you go. Got Michael Myers. He's got a butcher knife. He's got a hammer, a pumpkin head, couple of exchangeable hands. He's got another face, and a severed head in there. This I didn't even know existed. This was great. Ace Ventura Pet Detective. Look at that figure. And I didn't even think the movies were that great, but this is great. You got him with a couple exchangeable heads. He's got a bird. He's got a monkey. He's got a parrot. And there's a nice picture on the back there. Yeah, this is a great figure. I like that. I saw that, I had to grab it. I've interviewed Marilyn Gigliotti from Clerks, and I went to Comic-Con, and here's Randall, Jeff Anderson. Yes, Randall, the Randall figure. I didn't even know these existed. You get some figures. Unfortunately, they need to do a Marilyn Gigliotti, you know, with a fire extinguisher and lasagna and nail polish. She was a wonderful interview guest, but I got a Randall figure. Got a hockey stick with him and a video cassette and all kinds of shit. A ball and all kinds of stuff. So there's Randall from Clerks. And the last one I got, a Clockwork Orange. I've interviewed Clive Francis, who played the lodger in A Clockwork Orange. Very nice guy. Here's all the stuff that's with it. I'm going to slide this out so we can get a look at the figure a little bit. Still, I've never taken him out. Look at that. There's nothing on the back, but look at that figure. That is beautiful. He's got his, he's got some Corova milk. He's got his big staff cane there, and he's also got the little knife piece, separate knife piece. He's got exchangeable hands and different heads. So I had to grab that. That was a great purchase. So, and that is Comic Con 2019 for one Greg Python Gilbert. And I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm going to be doing the 2019 haul for Horrorama here soon. And yeah, love Toronto. It's a whole lot bigger than Fredericton, but I have a lot of fun at them. So I am going to close off this video. I don't know if I'll do Comic Con again. It's not that I didn't have fun. Obviously I did. But I find Horrorama and the smaller cons a little more, like I said, intimate, You don't want to stand in lineups for 90 minutes, but I almost went this year, but coronavirus canceled it. But Jake the Snake Roberts was supposed to be there. I would have gladly met him, but wasn't to be. Maybe at some point. We're both in a James Balsamo movie together. Catch of the day, too. So, hey, I get a credit with him. So I'm going to sign out. Here's my VIP Comic Con. Folks, you stay safe and stay healthy.